Morning, welcome all of you. As I already introduced myself, my name is Alexandra Gado, and I work at the University of Economics and Business in Poznań in Poland. I would like us today to spend 1 hour just on the social issue, social pillar. I'm sure that all these topics about the essence of sustainability was already discussed by you, so you know that sustainability is the overlapping of 3 pillars: economic pillars, environmental pillar, and social pillar. And we are going to discuss on these issues. To some extent, sustainability is on reduction of inequalities. And from that point of view, these social aspects might be, the common denominator of a lot of other things. I want to start with quoting one of the Sustainable Development Goals, 10th goal, which is literally, let me read. I'm extremely poor in loud reading, but I will do my best. The reduction, this goal is related to the reduction of all inequalities based on income, sex, age, disabilities, sexual orientation, race, class, ethnicity, religion, opportunity, without and among countries. Okay? What do you think? What does it mean, this goal, this equality, these equalities, this? How do you feel? What does it mean? What does this goal mean?
Lack of opportunities or possibilities for someone according to some one of those.
To help you, okay?
So someone is not allowed to do something or not able, just based on their sex, age, or their religion or ethnicity,
etc. So we all should have equal opportunities. Is it possible? No. Do you feel that inequalities really exist, or do you think that it's just something, out of the blue?
no, it exists.
They exist for sure. Okay. What do you think? Which kind of inequalities are the most important? What do you experience? Let's go. Let's to have some, schedule of the discussion. Here are some bases for inequalities: income, sex, age, disabilities, sexual orientation, race, class, ethnicity, religion, opportunity. What do you think, from your perspective of people from your country, at your age, at your personal? It's not personal question. What do you experience? But what do you think? Which kind of reasons for inequalities are the most visual, so the most seen from your perspective?
The reason for it.
Which?
Well,
Income, sex, age, disabilities, or which one?
I would say income, age, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, and religion.
Okay, this is your,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, income, you start with income.
Yeah.
So you think that people having lower incomes have less opportunities,
Yeah.
are treated in a worse way because of,
Yeah.
okay. Other opinions?
Opportunity. Just opportunity.
Just opportunity, we get different opportunities.
yeah, definitely is like one of the biggest issues even in the Western Europe, like everywhere around the world.
Okay.
Even from the countries that we would not expect normally. I think it's like global
problem. Gender inequalities are global problems. Okay?
Class as well.
Class, okay?
For a person of a high class or
Yeah.
family, you have many connections with higher
Yes.
people.
Higher
And
people.
richer get richer, poorer get poorer.
Exactly. This is the point that as far as richer goes richer and poor goes poor, it means that society becomes more and more unequal. Generally, this, from my perspective, this sustainable goal is related to equal opportunities, equal rights, which does not exist, but as an idea, a way where we would like to go. We are to discuss now about 3 aspects. These are, I would say that all kinds of inequalities are to some extent are overlapping. Actually, it's even expression for this, that this is intersectionality. So some aspects of inequalities make other inequalities even deeper. So, but about 3 aspects: income, gender, and education. The first should be income, but let me start with the gender. Could I? Okay. Do you think that men and women are the same chances, the same opportunities, are treated in the same way? You say no? Okay. Guys, it's a question because the answer was mostly from females, so your perspective?
No, but they should.
They should.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they are not. You are aware.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely aware. Okay. What is, in your opinion, the most, the better seen example, the most, which impacts you the most, which frustrates you the most of this gender inequality?
The wage gap is like the fact that we can see, so it's
Yeah.
not based on feelings or anything, so it's like I think most visual proof.
Pay gap, difference in salaries, okay? Something else?
Promotions regarding, especially in economy
Yes.
fields,
Yeah.
men get more promotions than women.
Than women. So the number or share of women which are in
Higher positions.
in higher position of power, such as being a member of parliament or member of the board of directors.
We can also see, for example, let's say in politics, the participants of women members of politicians are more smaller than men.
Yes, the same as in business.
Yeah, the same actually.
Perhaps not the same, but the similar
Yeah, but I
issue.
think in business, like there's
Mhm.
actually more of them. But I'm not sure if we don't know any statistics about
Mhm.
it. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think it's because of the gender, obviously.
But if I don't know if it's just my feeling, but I see some tendencies that are like artificial to like fight against this trend that some positions are like specific to gender, but I don't think that it's natural, or I don't think that it's like meant for like good reasons, but just for like for the public to see and appreciate their gender inequality. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think that it's like a good way to fight against it. It just has to be like genuine how the women are being promoted, or how they are being hired or given salaries.
My mind is that it's not a question that women should have some advantages because of being women. My mind is that everyone should have the freedom of choice, regardless, among others, regardless the gender. And this is the way I've been thinking. For example, one of my relatives, male relatives, he used to get the moment, I'm not sure, he used to be a teacher at the kindergarten. And in Poland, the teachers in the kindergarten are regarded as extremely female occupation. And what about other countries? It's the same. And you know, my family was so shocked. How could he work as a teacher in kindergarten? In my perception, it was also a kind of gender inequality, and it's not a question that I would like that we share, you know, our occupations, our activity one-to-one, 50% of men, 50% of women. No, but my idea is that we should feel free to choose what is the best for us. Okay, so you mentioned about pay gap, so also called as wage discrimination. On average, depending on the country, the wage gap is about 80%. But as I mentioned, on average. Average females, on average females earn around 80% less than men. Employment discrimination, which means that in some sectors, in some industries, women are overrepresented or underrepresented. And the problem is that the most prestigious occupations, the most prestigious sectors are these where women are underrepresented. Females are overrepresented, such as in kindergarten. In your countries, in Poland, being a teacher in kindergarten is definitely nothing prestigious. I don't. Polish students, do you agree? Yeah.
Nowadays, even being a teacher in primary school is like
Nothing.
Yeah. It used to be a respected
Yes.
job, but now
So
yeah.
being polite, but we are discussing about perception, and so this is the issue. And what you mentioned is that underrepresentation of women in management boards, in position of power. In the meantime, let me show some statistics. Why? Because I don't ask myself how it should be. I also ask myself as a researcher how it is. So let's take a look on first data. Gender overall earnings gap. This is an indicator of average earnings of all women of working age, whether employed or not, compared to men. And I reduced the database to our countries and to some examples such as Germany. Ireland is by accidentally. So in the you see it's not 100. So 100 would mean that female and male earnings are the same. Some countries here are accidental. I just want. What about education? Females, males in education. What is your observation? You study. Do you think that, because you know, for ages, for centuries, women were not allowed to enter the universities? You know the stories, and I'm sure that in all countries there are examples of brave women who try to break this rule. In Poland, we've got the most prestigious scientist, Maria Skłodowska-Curie, who was the first to enter, but she had to leave Poland. At the time, Poland didn't exist, but it's another story. But from Polish cities, but and she studied in France, in Paris. She finally received 2 Nobel Prizes into different fields. So extremely, successful, let's say, breaking all stereotypes, gender stereotypes. So I'm sure that in all countries you've got some example of such women. But on average, generally speaking, for centuries, women were not allowed to enter universities. And how it looks now?
My friend from Germany, she's studying engineering, technical engineering or something like that, electrical engineering. And on her course, she was like the only female, and from the teachers, she felt that for example, one of the teachers was towards her empathetic, that she could not learn as much as the guys. So he was kind of expecting her to, yeah. So that, like, she even now in 21st century, when there are so many women in engineering and in I don't know every field, there is still stereotypes and discrimination.
What about in general at your groups, student groups? Equality among? Pretty much equal. Okay. What do you think? What are statistics for European Union countries? Whom is better educated, or what is if men or women has higher level of higher education?
Women do better at school.
Women do better at school. It's
Yes,
because
yes.
boys are mostly hyperactive from the young age, or they
Yeah.
cannot sit still and
Yes.
study. And girls were the opposite.
Yes, so for ages, for centuries, we've got gender gap in education. Now, having a big picture, we have reversed gender gap. Reversed meaning that we've got more females with higher education than men with higher education. Let me show you some statistics. Next. Statistics. I just opened the statistics during the break. Okay, graduates in tertiary education by education level, so higher education, women per 100 of men. So you see European Union, Bulgaria, Czechia, Germany, just to compare, for having Spain, Croatia, Hungary, Poland, even the worst situation, because almost twice, and Slovakia. However, it looks very impressive. Why do you discuss about gender inequalities in the context of higher education, and why you should ask me, why do you show us such data? Yeah, on one hand we've got a situation that this is a reverse gender gap. However, when we take a closer look to this field of education, which are the most significant, the most prestigious, giving the higher prospects of high incomes, such as engineering, there still exists a gender gap. An example of our colleague from Georgia, do I remember correctly, about your friend for studying engineering in Germany, studying engineering in Germany, is exactly in point with that. That as far as we take a look at the big picture, it is like this. But where or in what kind of studies females are majorities?
They're more interested in people
Mhm.
and people sciences, but men are more interested in stuff, like to build something,
Mhm.
physical stuff. So that's why people, men go for engineering.
Mhm.
That's the reason why there is a gap.
The gap.
Yeah.
So women are definitely overrepresented in such education field like as pedagogy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you know what I do. Am I right? Yes. Such as all or almost all social sciences. They are definitely majorities there. But as we discussed, they are not necessarily the most prestigious fields of study. These fields of studies, such as engineering, we use acronym STEM: science, technology, engineering, maths. STEM. It's the field where there are, it's estimated that there are about 30% of women studying in this field of STEM. On the other hand, this is, our future. Let me show the last data which I opened. The last data which I opened to prove it is the share of women researchers. Quickly, I cannot find the data on the STEM, so let's take a look. Let's take a look of the researchers. Are quite prestigious. A lot of researchers work in engineering fields, and they do really good job. And I remember times where even at our university, majority were men. Now it's the gender structure is a bit different. But when we take a look at our countries, at statistics, we see that not more than 30%, mostly majority of researchers are men. Why? What do you think? What is your opinion? Why this gender inequality exists?
Pretty much because of the human nature in general, because even if you look at people, men are more realistic, I think. That's why they choose engineering or building cars or stuff like that. Women are more emotionally wired. That's why they want to help, to heal, to work with kids or stuff like that.
So we
Women bring more emotion to everything. Even if we look at the basic things, we want to help our we want to help our boyfriend, or we want to help our fiancé, for example. We want to help random children on the street. Even if we look at a child, we just smile because how cute is he or she? That's my opinion.
So you associated this gap or this difference with our nature.
Yes, because we want to help or heal. That's why we choose this kind of field.
What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Perhaps you add something? You were first.
Yeah, so maybe the big figures are because of we were raised like this, so we learned from our parents, from the environment that we should do this, but it's maybe not necessary from our nature.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to also emphasize more on the social part,
Okay.
the societal expectations and approvals towards the gender. For example, as you mentioned, for the example of your relative, that he was a man and he was not socially expected to be going on such field. And I feel like as he was mentioning, when you're being raised in society like that, and you have different attractiveness towards some jobs.
Uh-huh.
So it's more, I would blame more society than nature.
Okay, blame, or you think that it is rather abandoned in society, in social rule, cultures, values, and stuff like this, that the, let's say, biological nature.
Yes.
Yeah?
That's right.
But I would also say it's also like the way that our ancestors, I think it's
Mhm.
built in us in a way, automatically, the way that like a man should be a provider. A man should be the one that takes care of the family, a head of the house. It's not just 100 years ago that was that. It was centuries ago. I think it's kind of engraved in us, plus the society. It kind of just makes sense to majority of the people. And then when women start earning more, it's kind of a threat now. She's actually the main in the household, and then the man feels demasculated. It's not just, I would say, social issue, but I would say it's also in a way mental issue as well
Yeah.
for both genders.
Yes, this is what I would like also to ask you, and if you recall both gender. Because our discussion is mostly from the perspective, from the female perspective. But do you think that such inequality is fair? It gives just advantages to men, or is it also to some extent unfair to men? I gave you example of my relatives, but let's discuss for a moment from the other side, from the point of view of men. Okay?
For example, like inequalities in a way of thinking about the gender, like boys don't cry.
Yeah.
So like it's also, maybe it's not like typical, I don't know, job place or something like this, but it's also like
Social expectation
yeah,
is that man should be strong, should be this leader, should has no emotions and stuff like this. Is it fair?
I don't wanted to say there's a lot more men in, let's say, in prisons. There's a lot more men homeless.
Yeah.
A lot more men in war dying. A lot more men in physical labor that is also risking their lives. And yeah, there's a lot of like works that they have to do.
Yeah.
That risking their life.
So in my mind, yes, of course, should we start the discussion from the female perspective. As for centuries, females were these who were disadvantaged. They couldn't possess any properties. They couldn't work, have education and stuff like this, and no matter their abilities. But such situation, in my mind, also impact these social expectations of being, as you recall, our translated Polish sentence, boys don't cry. Does it exist in other languages?
Yeah.
Boys don't cry. Also, in my opinion, it also hurts a man. Okay, let's take a look. On. We will come back to this discussion. We didn't finish, but let's take a look on some theories which explain these gender differences. The first one is, I gave you 3 examples. It's not everything which you could find in the literature, but in my mind it shows quite well. The first one is human capital theory which explains that female earn less because they have lower level of human capital, meaning lower level of education, lower level of professional experience, lower skills, competences and stuff like this. And to some extent, we would agree that to some extent it explains something, but actually I don't like this, this explanation because we should, yeah, you want to make a comment? No. I don't like, personally, I don't like this explanation because we should dig deeper. Why? And as we discussed, okay, we saw that now this is having a general picture, big picture, there's a reverse gender gap in education. But when we look at specific fields of education, we see that in the most prestigious education, there is still a gender gap. So these inequalities in human capital are in my mind, are the consequences, not necessarily the reasons for inequality. Truly speaking, I like the second explanation the most. It's related to institutional theory. Institutional theory is often used to explain actually a lot of different things in our reality because we are abandoned in some institutions. We live in some environmental. I don't mean just climate, but also social, legal, environmental, etc., etc. And we are impacted by these different kinds of institutions. And the main two groups of institutions are formal institutions and informal institutions. Formal institutions are related to legal regulations, for example, to law, to education is also treated as formal institutions. And in many countries, the law is against women. Or in many countries, it used to be against women. Why? For example, women could not vote. In Switzerland, I was shocked when I found it. In Switzerland, so in my mind it was, Switzerland. But women get the voting power, the voting rights, perhaps 1973. So just 50 years ago. Okay, so voting power, voting rights is the one example. But we could discuss what's going on in families when our father died, who should? Mostly son. Mostly, at the best, is the oldest son. No matter if he's formally the younger or what, son. And even if in many countries the law is that gender doesn't matter, still social expectation is that even if daughters have some, oh my goodness, I forgot a word, odziedziczą, Polish students, please help me, heritage some, I don't know, some assets, they are expected to give it to their husbands or brother. So, okay, so even if not written in law directly, still often is the expectation. But in my personal opinion, and I suppose that to some extent you agree because you you started to discuss on it, informal institutions are even more important in explaining these inequalities. Informal institutions are such as, for example, social norms, social values, culture, and stuff, beliefs, stereotypes, and stuff like this. And the problem is that being raised with being born, being raised with within some family, within some social aspect, we are so much influenced by this culture, norms, beliefs, stereotypes, that we accept them unconsciously, without even thinking about.
I mean, for example, in Saudi Arabia, like 5 years ago, 2017 was the year that women got right to drive a car. Like they couldn't get license for it.
I didn't want to touch examples of, but thank you
In the
for
war and
yes, and this is 5 years. It was just 5 years ago. Okay, so yeah, 5 years.
5 years ago.
Yes.
Like if I can jump in like very short into this, like my uncle used to live in Qatar, which is like close to Saudi Arabia, and like even as a foreigner, like he has a wife, like they live together in Qatar, or they used to live, they just moved out. So like it was necessary to like that his wife can drive, but they are both Slovaks, so they are from Slovakia and they just live there. So like my uncle had to give like paper permission to
His wife
to drive car in Qatar.
drive
Yeah, it's like
car.
very strange even for
Yes.
foreigners to take license for foreigners.
Yes.
Like it's like very like document that she
Yes.
can drive a car. So it's very
Yes.
I know one example of like totally opposite world. In
Yeah.
Africa there is one tribe or like town where the men are not allowed of anything. They have to wear the clothes and just show the eyes. They cannot vote. So it's like exactly reverse.
Matriarchy,
Matriarchy, but like
Matriarchy.
really sexist matriarchy.
Yes. Okay, let's think about when it starts. When does this impact of these gender stereotypes starts?
I think it's even, since we are maybe even one, for example, or all of our clothes, like boys wear blue, girls wear pink, girls get little like baby born babies to like get our maternal
Yes.
instincts started from a
Yes.
young age, and like girls, for example, to play like get certain chores, like they have mini kitchens, mini
and dolls,
shops,
of course.
exactly, and guys cars and video games with wars and stuff.
And it was reversed. Like a few centuries ago, the boys wore red because it was the color of blood, and pink, and the girls wore blue.
Yeah. But what is in your countries? What is the attitudes toward newly born boy or newly born girl when woman is pregnant? What is more expected?
Always the first son.
First
Yeah, they say
son.
always first son.
Always first son, at least one.
In Croatia, my mother calls me Sine, son.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so common, like to call a daughter a son. Sine, daj mi to.
Yeah.
And we have a saying, like it's so random. For example, if a glass breaks, we just spill it out like, oh, bit će muško. It's gonna be a boy.
So for luck,
Yeah.
to make something as a lucky.
As a manifest.
Yes. So you see, we are impacted with so invisible belief stereotypes even before we appear on this world. Social attitude. The next step. Let's assume that a child is already born. Then we've got a story with cars, story with toys, with plays, with games. You want to
Sorry for interruption. But in Sweden they made a kindergarten where they have like special, they have like different trainings for the children to have the feelings or like perception from the other gender. So
Yeah.
for men, for the boys, they're trying to make them more emotionally connected to each other, and for women, they're trying to give their some cards and like so they're like changing and trying
to switch the roles.
yeah.
Okay. To sum up, to let you know my personal opinion, that following stereotypes is absolutely senseless, because the difference between average man and average woman is less than difference among different women and difference among different men. I'm not sure if I could express what I wanted about. I hope that you. There's nothing such as average man, nothing such as average women. We are all individuals. Okay. Let's come back. Let's go. I took a look at the time. Let's take a look at the schools. In schools, what is social expectations in the context of education? That you mentioned that generally, and some of you also, that generally girls are more
diligent, yeah.
I don't want to touch the issue of being intelligent or not.
No, diligent, you know, when you
Ah,
they go to school and they see where they not, like, you know, doing the right thing.
Is it true, do you think, from your perspective, that it's true in 100%?
I would say to an extent. I remember like the guys would usually, like girls would write their homework and the guys would, before the class would start would just copy the homework, for example.
But do you think that, I'm sure that all of us, we can find examples of our friends from the primary school, secondary school, male friends, who were very quiet, very oriented towards education, good grades, etc., etc. Could you find example very quiet?
Yes.
I'm sure you can. And the vice versa. I'm sure that all of us, we can find examples of our female friends who was, you know, as a chaos with, you know, dynamic. Am I right? But in this context which we are discussing on, what I would like to highlight, just not to have a small talk on gender issue, is that what are the stereotypes about education towards mathematics, towards physics, chemistry, in your consciousness, from your perspectives?
The guys are better at it.
Yeah.
And the girls are more language, arts. And
Yes, yes. This is the stereotype which I also was raising. And it took me many, many years to realize that it's just a stereotype, but how it impacts. Do you agree this kind of stereotype exists? Do you agree with that?
But it's fading now, because we have the internet and stuff and the culture, like our generation, we are not that much
so
like,
that's why I started that I truly believe in your generation. Do you agree that stereotypes exist, that women are better in languages, men are better in maths?
I don't think so.
Yeah? You agree?
No.
Stereotype?
I don't really. Usually in Hungary, for me, through my school years, I always had, for example, chemistry or physics teachers are women. I always had women teachers in these subjects.
Okay.
For example, for these manly subjects had history or these kind of subjects. So I've always had women teachers in these.
Okay. General perspective?
In other schools in Hungary, I saw the same.
doesn't matter anymore.
Perhaps you don't feel it. Okay, please start.
Yeah, just like we had some psychological topic and some previous lessons, and they said that if there is a stereotype like this, then it creates not the prejudice, a stereotype threat.
Yeah.
And women think that it's not and women just think that they are not worse, so they try to be better than men, but it actually doesn't work like this. So their grades are worse.
And I've got nothing against a situation that female stays at home and is inactive from the professional perspective, as far as it is based on agreement, not on stereotypes. As far as she's free to make such decision, not she's pushed to such decision by family, by society, by everyone. Thank you very much.